Dan, what is your proudest vocational achievement to date, and why?
Good question. From a MythBusters point of view, it's hard to beat going to the White House. That was special.
That was pretty special.
From a MythBusters individual moment point of view, as I think I've already mentioned, the U2 spy plane, that is such a moving, brilliant bit of TV.
And to be clear, the U2 spy plane program allows one civilian to passenger on a plane every 2 years. And it had been Richard Hammond 2 years before us, if I remember correctly.
Right, yeah.
One of my heroes, one of my hosting heroes. So it was a special opportunity. The team up at Beale Air Force Base, which is one of the primary places they take off of, couldn't have been more welcoming to us, which is we think that we're a machine. We thought we were a machine as a television show when we stepped onto a military base and realized we're just a bunch of amateurs.
Yeah, that is true. But other than MythBusters, I have recently been working on a show. Since 2018, I've worked on a show called Life on Our Planet. That is coming out on Netflix shortly, 25th of October.
Amazing.
And that, I am super proud of that story.
Okay.
So it's an 8-part series about the story of life from its beginnings, like in the primordial soup 4 billion years ago.
Where everything was just a carpet, a biocarpet at the bottom of the oceans, and then someone figured out how to move and all hell broke loose.
All of that stuff, all the way through to today. It like gives context to the world, but it's this beautifully crafted story that I think it's almost a mixture between Attenborough's original Life on Earth from like the 70s with Jurassic Park, because it's got amazing VFX by ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, they are unbelievable. But
so you're telling it like it's a modern nature documentary, but as if you were able to send cameras hundreds of millions of years into the past.
But it's also got this sort of Game of Thrones feel to it. That I think when we started, we thought maybe the story of life is like a predictable walk through the past, but it absolutely isn't. It is full of sort of chaos and carnage and evolution and revolution and the rise of the underdog as different dynasties compete, and it's properly good.
I'm curious if at the very beginning when you started on the project, was there a sensation of like, I hope we get to execute X amount of this, and did it exceed your expectations?
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, one of the first things we did, it was like the MythBusters planning weeks.
Right. Just making endless lists.
Endless lists, actually on Post-it notes. Right. So we are building this jigsaw out of Post-it notes, and it would be, modern day animals we want to show and why, extinct animals that we want to show and why, what is the Earth doing, what about the extinction events, all of this sort of stuff. And we slowly built this picture. And I suppose where I breathed a sigh of relief it's going to work was when we first cut a finalized VFX scene next to a modern day natural history, and you couldn't see the edges. And it was like, okay,
amazing.
This is going to be okay.
That must have been really thrilling.
Yeah.
Because the uncanny valley is real.
I know,
and if you hit it, it's very hard to get out.
Yeah. And it's executive produced by Steven Spielberg, which is obviously pretty cool.
Amazing.
And I remember being quite terrified and excited when we first sent him that moment.
Yeah.
And he said, or his people said, he'll get back to you on Monday. And it got to Monday after quite a sleepless weekend.
Sure.
Didn't hear anything. Got to Tuesday, didn't hear anything. And then by Wednesday, woke up to an email that said, by the way, you guys are doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. And it was like, okay, it's going to be all right. But yeah, you should definitely check it out. It is special.
I think one thing people might not realize about being a science producer is that your skills as a producer of science content comes from a love of learning.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you spent since 2018 learning a whole bunch of crap about the world you really didn't know before.
Yeah. Well, my degree is in biology, so I knew some of it. I knew some of it, but
that's the first time learning that you had a degree in biology.
It is full of amazing facts. Yeah. Like 99% of life is extinct. Didn't realize that. Like what we see today is 1% of all of life. And it's full of things like this. These 5 mass extinctions where up to 80% of life got wiped out for all these different reasons. Yeah. There's stories about plankton, like when in early Earth there was no oxygen. And so for complex life, you have to have oxygen. Oxygen only appeared as a byproduct when plankton evolved photosynthesis. And so like we almost owe our existence to plankton. It's weird. There are so many of these amazing things, but yeah, becoming a specialist in that. Part of what I loved on MythBusters is becoming an expert in weird little areas and becoming an expert, in the loosest sense of the word, of the story of life on Earth has been a privilege.
Amazing.
Actually.
I mean, that's the thing, is that when that knowledge comes in, it really does, it frames the world for you and makes it, I don't think a little smaller, but a little more like you can wrap your arms around it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
So this airs October
25th.
October 25th, 8-part series.
8-part series.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I think you'll like it. You'll like it.
I've been very much enjoying how CG has augmented reality nature programming. Like that's been a really exciting change. And when I read about the brief on this one, I was super excited. The Cambrian explosion is amazing. And like to have it spelled out for you, what things were like for millions and millions of years, and then it changes, is really thrilling.
I mean, it's kind of, that's the other like weird part of the story. So life evolves. This single cell called Luca, last universal common ancestor. And that's 4 billion years ago. Every single thing is related to that. So in the family tree, go far and far enough back, everything is related to that. Wow. But then again, in the story, once Luca evolved, it evolved into other single cells, but then not much happened. And scientists call it the boring billion because nothing really much happened. Billion. I'm sure the scientists who study that don't call it that.
Yeah, sure.
But everyone else does.
They're relatives.
And then it gets to the point where, like you said, the Cambrian explosion, life suddenly takes off. And it's like this weird experimental testing ground of evolution with things that just have to be seen to be believed.
I didn't realize until I read Other Minds, a wonderful book, Octopus Cognition, about the fact that they're not sure whether someone was running or someone was chasing. Who's the first mover? But it's probably the runner. It's probably the chaser.
Well, there was this time where, about 600 million years ago, where predation hadn't evolved. And so it was almost this halcyon time of life. Wow. And then suddenly, one creature decided...
sticks out an arm, eats a strawberry.
And that changed everything. That was the moment where life did become this Game of Thrones.
So as a parent, I describe this is what happens the minute your toddler learns to walk. Right? Until they can walk, things are pretty chill. Yeah. You have a lot of control over the situation. Yeah. They'll stay on the bed for the most part. But once they can walk, damn, it's hard after that.
I still find it funny when I see new parents encouraging their crawlers to walk. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
Twins famously walk late because a baby wants to emulate what it sees, and twins have each other. So they're less inclined to want to walk around because they've got a partner. Yeah. So my boys didn't walk until 16 months. They were very late. And I was all like, take your time. Dan, thanks so much for coming and talking about this.
It's been a pleasure.
I can't wait to see the show. And it's really good to see you.
Likewise.